We're going to share what our parents do for work.
My mom's a teacher.
And your dad?
He's a liar.
You mean he's a lawyer?
Fletcher Reed was climbing the ladder of success.
You're the victim here, driven into the arms of another man.
7.
Yeah, whatever.
One lie
Tell him it's in the mail. I ran out of gas. You're losing a little weight.
at a time.
The true victim is Christine Beatty. Put yourself in his shoes for a moment. You're walking from church when suddenly you encounter
ML Elric.
pouncing from the shadows.
You asked interrogative questions around my suit. It's gone.
What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now, Elric?
Hey kids, it's your old pal ML Elric here with a special holiday, non-denominational, but if you want to call it Christmas, it's okay, edition of The Soul of Detroit. And we have somebody who's both a present and present. Erika Erickson, my former colleague at Fox 2, my good friend, and a ray of sunshine in this otherwise dank dungeon.
Sitting across.
I love visiting this dungeon.
She's sitting across from
The
two dim
thundercloud.
bulbs, Shawn Windsor and Mark Fellhauer. The lights that are out on our string that makes us replace the whole thing on the front of our house because it's like, why aren't all the lights flashing so brightly? It's those guys.
What? Hi, Shawn.
Hi, Mark. It's nice to hear.
Hi, Mark.
Sorry about the voice. It's nice to hear Mike actually say something nice about somebody. I wonder why.
Because she's a wonderful person, and you guys are a couple of dirtbags.
I mean, you've been dogging people down here. You were doing a pre-show, so to hear this it's nice. It's a good step for you.
Yeah, Shawn, I guess I don't know what it's like. Do you not deal with genuine people all the time because you talk to coaches and athletes? Have you never seen anybody express real emotion? I mean, we just...
Yeah, I have. It's just not from you.
Your voice
just not from me. Really? When have I put on a facade? When have you ever seen me?
I'm not saying you put on it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's just nice for you to be positive.
He was ranting a little bit.
He was totally ranting.
He had an angry rant.
Oh yeah, no,
I put on my metaphorical bulletproof vest when I get out of my car out here on the street to come into the studio.
Oh, please.
You know what I mean? Not for you, Mark.
Give me a
No,
break.
when
He's so
Shawn
tough
gets
on
that
you.
far from Ann Arbor, he gets scared. But it was Mozzie Smith who had the gun, and he was in Ann Arbor. You should have worn your bulletproof vest in Washtenaw County.
Oh, yeah?
He was on his way to get it licensed. It would have been all right.
I was held up this morning because I had
here
to
we
clean.
Here we go.
It's very
This is what I'm here for.
No, it's very mundane, but I was just thinking about this.
Yeah, let's start with the mundane stuff.
exactly.
That'll keep the audience.
No, I took my sister-in-law some split pea soup last night.
Oh, listen to this rager, this story.
And the lid was not on. It spilled on the seat, so I wiped it up, but it was dark. So I got in the car to come to you guys this morning, and the whole fucking seat was green. That's why I was running by. I promised Mark, I was going to get in here a little early, and I saw the green. I started wiping up, and there are holes in that little pleather. I couldn't get them out, and then I knocked my drink over, and I'm not normally clumsy, as Mike will attest. It's on the basketball court, right? But
you create your own space out there.
I've just been out of it a little bit, and sorry I'm late.
Aww.
You know why Shawn was late?
So that's why I sound like I do.
Because
it's a fucking split pea soup.
He saw the
Which was
split pea
delicious,
soup,
by the way.
and he tried to bring the peas together. He said, "Why are you divided?"
Together
You're like,
pea
we're
soup?
split pea soup.
No,
He's
no,
like,
no.
no.
You try
Please
to
put aside your differences and be one pea.
No, you take the peas and you take the ham hock or whatever it is you're going to use, and you nestle them together. That's the idea. The peas already know each other.
Pre-show ML to Shawn. Is there anything in particular you want to cover?
No.
We knew there'd be some
In any
ridiculous.
case, I'm done. No, I'm done.
All right,
Now
thanks
it's
for
all
stopping by.
seeped in the seats, and
Exactly.
it's gonna.
And the seats have the little.
In the spring, it's
little
gonna
holes in them,
stink
don't
after
they,
the
right?
cold is gone.
Exactly.
We have this wonderful guest, and Shawn's talking about
knows what I'm talking
his
about,
dirty
clearly.
seat.
Oh, I know. I mean,
Nobody
come
wants
on.
to come here.
And this is what's great about it. Everyone's been through something like that before, right?
I try to be universal, Mike.
You are an everyman.
You are an everyman.
He really is.
Every man that you hope not to be stuck
By
in
the
an
way, you
elevator
look
Every
with
crabby old
or
man
on an island.
You look particularly handsome today. Oh my God! I may say so.
Enough. Knock it off.
But
I like the little
blushing.
cue,
Yeah.
the little cue up there.
Erika and I worked together for a long time, and one of the things she would always say to me at the end of the day at the station is, it must be very frustrating always being judged on your looks.
Every day I said that.
Yeah, and I was like, Erika, I know you have no idea what you're talking about, but it is frustrating to me because I want to be appreciated for the things I do
It's
and
the
who
stubble.
I am.
Yeah, it was incredibly unfair for you. How'd you get through it?
Well, you'd always end that when you'd say it's really unfair for you, and then you'd refer to me as Gollum. So I kind of thought you were being a little, facetious. So
I'm going to ask you.
He'd start
Never.
talking about the Smiths.
I slunk back to my office muttering about the Precious. So
I'm going to ask
we
I'm gonna
likes
ask a
we
serious
wants
question.
it back. We needs it.
Mark's leaning back.
When
Mark's
you were,
leaning
well, I
back.
want to look at her. When you were on camera at Fox 2, how hyper aware were you of that?
Oh, I mean, you're on TV. It's constant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, ML, how hyper aware were you of it?
I mean, I didn't wear makeup. Sometimes it looked like I, maybe got rolled by a bunch
You
of
never
bouncers
did wear
or
makeup,
something.
did you? A
No,
lot of guys wear makeup.
Well, I'm
guys.
not gonna name names, but there were a couple guys in the their shirts would hang in the dressing room we had, which was really just a big men's room with some lights, and there's so much makeup on the collar. You're like, is Al Jolson doing the news here? I mean, it was incredible how much makeup people would use. And LaDuff said to me when I got these, like, we're going to be the two guys who never wear makeup. And I'm like, that's fine.
That was
That's
a good
cool.
impression.
And then I saw him the day after he got in that scuffle on St. Patrick's Day. He was in the courthouse, get the bell ready, during the Kilpatrick trial. I said, Charlie, you look pretty good. He goes, makeup. Because he had a couple of shiners and he'd taken a few.
Sometimes
boots.
makeup works miracles sometimes.
I've been told
Especially under the eyes. Oh.
Yeah. Well, I still would get, and I haven't for a while, I guess, but I would get acne still. And every once in a while I'd put a little, my color was spice, by the way, on the blemish.
Oh.
And then it just looked like, well, he has a brown lump on his head instead of a pimple.
You don't need makeup, I don't think.
Well, here's the thing, Shawn.
You're very
And
fetching without
I hate to say this, but men on TV, almost nobody comments on their appearances. Women on TV, everybody feels like they have license to say this. And
we're hypocritical as
the
shit.
only time I ever had even a glimmer of that was the first time I left the Free Press and went to Channel 4. One of our colleagues, Pat Anstedt, saw me somewhere and she said, "You're not doing your makeup right." Or she said something about my appearance. I'd worked with her for years and she never ever said anything about the way I looked until I was on TV. And that was one of the rare occasions I had. But, if you're at a bar or you're anywhere, the first thing people talk about is what the reporter looks like. And it's got to be incredibly frustrating, the double standard, and just the notion that people feel like they have license to make any shitty comment that they want to make because they got a clicker in their hand.
Unbelievable. The balls of steel people have behind their keyboard. The things that they think that they can say to people because they're on TV. I can't imagine what people who are actually famous have to deal with.
It's a visual medium, right? So, I mean, that is going to rule the day what people look like.
Exactly. And you should treat it as such. I mean,
but as far as negative feedback, it's pretty low-hanging fruit, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, people are firing
people
back,
attack
too.
people's character.
Yeah.
I mean, I think one of my friends was wearing houndstooth, and she was told that she was supporting war because she was wearing houndstooth. I mean, it's your hair styled a certain way, and you are.
I learned a long time ago. People hear and see what they want to hear and see a lot of the
Exactly, and you just gotta brush it off, and it's hard sometimes. But
of course, it's hard.
You just develop thick skin. And
look, I know I'm overweight and fat, and people tell me it all the time. But it's like, yeah, okay, I get it. I know that.
Most of the time, I think people just I always tell myself this. That's a you problem, man. You clearly have something going on, and if that makes you feel better, attacking somebody else all day, every day, you just sit behind your computer and just attack people.
But did you mentioned behind the keyboard? Did you ever get that out? You said, I assume you got a glimpse of what it was like to be famous a little bit, right? You said for people that are actually famous. You got a glimpse of that in person.
People don't usually have the balls to say it to your face, ever, do they?
No, they don't.
And when people do say something rude, my response is, "I'm sorry, could you repeat that?" Because they don't even usually have the balls to say it a second time.
Right.
Have you ever been catcalled while doing a story?
Yes,
All the time?
a few times. There was a couple times it was live, and you just have to ignore it. Most of the time. ML, you saw I was on very serious stories, and people would say really disgusting things, and when I was done, I'd say, "I'm sorry, but a child was murdered, and you just did that." And most of the time, they didn't know, or they would apologize.
Huh?
Yeah,
people are so in their own world.
Well, they don't.
Yeah, they really are. They're really in their own world, and they're usually just joking, and
they don't think you're real in a way, right?
That's the other thing.
Hey, I don't think you're real, Shawn. I've been around you for 2 years, and I can't believe you're a real person.
No, but Erika mentioned earlier what it'll be like if you were actually famous. I don't know, President famous, the actor famous, Tiger Woods famous, whatever. But I was at a deli in Indianapolis a couple of weeks ago, and some guy started following me around the deli, and turns out he just wanted to talk about this show and what I write at the Free Press.
Oh, cool.
And I just thought, no, it was fine in the end, but I just thought the way he was
snapped and said, "I'm off the clock."
The way he was following me and eyeing me, and I knew he recognized me from either this or the newspaper, but I just thought, God, if you had to live with that,
but see, that's
every time you walked out of your house, that level, that's what you're talking about. Could you imagine that, Erika?
Shawn, he wants to talk to you about your work. He's not catcalling you.
No, for sure. But I'm just saying, just having eyes on you when you go out, I don't really like it. I'm glad I'm a newspaper person, but every now and again I get it a little bit. I couldn't imagine every time.
And then people knowing things about you as well can sometimes be creepy. And I'm sure you guys know that too, going out, and some people know your whole life.
Well, I like it when people tell me stuff I said. I'm like, I did?
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
sorry about that.
I had a problem on Twitter a few years ago where some downriver assistant wrestling coach got mad about something, and next thing I know on Twitter, he's saying, "Hey, do your daughters still go to this high school? Is this still your address?" All this other shit. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to drive down there and we're going to have this out. You got to be kidding me. And of course, Twitter was just, yeah, this isn't harassment. This isn't threatening. I'm like, you can say whatever you want about me, but until I ran for office, if you looked at my social media profile when I was a reporter, no wife, no kids. All you knew was I lived in Detroit. I was a reporter. I like sports. And every once in a while, I'd share some music stuff because I didn't want anything personal to be a part of it. I didn't want anybody going after them, because what you find out is most of these chicken shits, they're not going to step up to you, but they'll try and find somebody who they think is vulnerable and go after them.
Exactly.
And we've seen it with some of the trolls talking about, there was one particular troll when Tom Lawand was running the Lions. His wife was a little husky, and this guy was going on about, the Lions suck and your wife is a cow. I'm like, the Lions suck. Let's stick to that. That's bad enough. But it's people take some liberties. And here's a rough segue. I've been accused of taking some liberties in my recent column about Christine Beatty, which we will be talking about.
Now we're getting to the rant you
a
had
little
before
later
the show.
into the show.
Wait, what are we talking about?
But the show, we need to tell you, is brought to you by Luke Nowacki, who is the sponsor of all the Red Shovel Network shows and has been with us now for almost our entire 4-year run. He's our sole sponsor, so the reason we're still coming to you is because of Luke. So if you need some help planning for your financial future, please go see Luke Nowacki. Let him know you found out about him from the Soul of Detroit. If you happen to run into him in a deli in Indianapolis and he thinks you want to talk to him about his sports opinions, but you really just want to say, is that split pea soup or did you shart yourself? Just tell him that you found out about it on the Soul of Detroit.
Yes.
It's really...
No, by the way, the gentleman was very friendly, but before we get to whatever political, whatever you're going to do.
No, I want to talk to Erika some more, but I want people to know we have some other things going on in the show, including a special New Wave Christmas song.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait for that. Erika, can you... I have a question for you. Have you ever been uncomfortable? People not stalking you, but kind of eyeing you or recognizing you and unsure what to say, stumbling or...
Yeah, people have grabbed my friends and I. I've been stalked on Twitter. I had to go to the police at one point. It was actually turned out to be a woman in New York, believe it or not.
What?
A woman in New York.
Posing as a guy?
posing as a man. I have no idea who she was. No idea. Yeah, Michigan State Police had to help me out with that one.
Damn.
Did you ever find out the reason why?
No, that's the no reason. I have no idea. She just, every time I would block her or...
Is she an astronaut? Because I know those astronaut women can get kind of crazy.
I'm like, what?
Remember the astronaut who wore the adult
diaper
undergarments to try and meet somebody, and she was driving from Florida to Houston or something.
It was an astronaut love triangle.
Yeah. So you weren't
She
in an
attacked the
astronaut
other
love
woman.
triangle.
Well, that's for a story for another day.
Damn, that's something. 2024 exclusive on ML Soul of Detroit.
Did the state police help?
Yes, they were very helpful. They were wonderful. Yeah, I don't know the reason. I think some people just fixate.
They do.
No idea.
Rob Walchek had a problem with a guy he had done a story on who was from New York, and he had to call the cops because I think the guy actually came and was hanging outside of Rob's house, like surveilling his house,
Jeez.
and the police had to get involved in that. So there are some people who get fixations.
Yeah,
That
there's
was
people
more
that
of
we
a
do
revenge
stories
thing.
with who,
Right.
you kind of, okay, the story's over, or yeah, I'm not your therapist.
Yeah.
Type
Now,
deal.
you are a local journalist raised here in the metro area, got your degree at Wayne State, former Journalist of the Year from the Wayne State Journalism School, as I recall.
Yes, and alumni of the year as well.
And started out in, was it Traverse City, or where was your first gig? How did you
my
start?
first gig was in Traverse City, and that was the only one before Detroit.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was hazed a little bit when I first arrived in Detroit.
Before we get you to Detroit, you said you had sort of an inauspicious debut, because I think anybody who's seen
Oh my
you on
gosh.
TV knows you're a very talented storyteller. You're a tenacious reporter, incredibly poised, and especially with everything that goes on in the background, you're in a live situation. Maybe there's an emergency situation. Maybe people are just like, ooh, what's going on there? And they want to butt in as you're about to go live. You keep your cool pretty well.
Thank you.
But you said
I
the first
don't
time,
know what
no one
happened.
would have known that.
This is so embarrassing. I don't know what happened. I was up north, and so just quick background. I have done public speaking, acting, things like this since high school, and I have had no issues. I was up north, and there was a plane crash, and I was going live, and they went out to me, and I just stood there.
Let's check with Erika out at the airport. Erika, what have you got there?
And I'm standing there, I'm ready to rock, and I froze. No words would come out. They're like,
Go. You got your earpiece in and they're saying-
Erika. And I just was standing there. I mean, it was the longest, me staring at like a deer in headlights at the camera live, everybody just, what the hell are you doing? What is wrong with you? And then eventually my photographer told me we were off, or kind of waved his hand, and we weren't. So you could see me pouting, walking off camera.
But at least
like
you didn't
basically
say,
about to cry.
you didn't say, what the hell was that shit?
No, I
Okay,
didn't say
good.
anything. I was just like, I just put my head down and just walked off camera because I thought I thought we were off.
And was this your first live shot?
I think this was my first one, but I had kind of, yeah, it was my first one, I think.
How long did it last, the quiet?
Oh, it
Probably
was,
felt like an
it was-
eternity, but
it was very.
did you ever find out officially how many seconds it was?
I think it was. I can't remember how long, but it was bad. It was bad.
Where can we find this video?
I don't know. Let's never find
It's
it.
not on
Let's
YouTube
never
anywhere?
find it.
So when they went to you, different directors will have different cues. Like sometimes they'll say go, or sometimes they won't say anything, and they'll expect you to pick it up from when the anchor says something. Did they prompt you, or was it just sort of the anchor stopped talking? And
They were great, and they prompted me, and Erika, what you doing? You're on.
And so the anchors just picked it back up and said, well, we seem to be having some technical problems out there in the
I
field.
honestly don't remember.
Oh, wow.
You didn't go back and watch the tape?
I
mean, not that
I
one
had
would want
other
to,
people
but-
watch it. I thought I was going to be fired. I went back to the station and thought I was done.
What did they tell you? Were they
Yeah,
like,
that's what I want to know.
'cause
Yeah,
I remember seeing an interview recently. Letterman was on with Colbert, and they both were talking about the show is whatever happens, it's never as bad as you think it is.
That's very true.
How it plays on the box, and it's never as good as you think it is. That's just how people view it is going to be very different. So did anybody give you a pep talk afterwards? Like, yeah, you'll be fine.
So I always say that to myself now. Things always happen twice in our minds and then in reality, right? Well, in my mind, it was a disaster. I didn't have a job anymore. I needed to find a new career. There was no point even going back to the station. And it was a long drive back because, up north, everywhere is far.
Yeah. Oh, no.
So
2-lane roads. Yeah,
it was bad. So I went back and my news director was like, yeah, it was bad, but, Anyway, I checked. I had voicemails, and I was like, oh, God, what are these messages? They were the nicest voicemails from viewers.
Yeah.
I had emails from viewers saying what a good job I'd been doing, not a big deal. And I couldn't believe it. And they kept coming in the next day.
So you'd been on the air before then? The audience
I had been on the air before.
Okay.
And I think that it wasn't my first live shot, but it was more of a breaking news situation. It was a big story.
Dynamic
so
news
everyone
situation.
was watching.
Okay.
In Traverse City, it's a smaller market.
Sure. And a plane crash is a big deal anywhere.
Yes, exactly.
So I remember there was a new reporter at Channel 4 maybe about 10 or 15 years ago. It was her first time on camera, and she was fine, but she was at a disaster, like bodies and houses burning, and the anchor tossed to her and said, we want to introduce you to our newest reporter, whatever her name is, Jane Doe, and says, looks like there's a terrible disaster behind you, but it's so great to have you here as part of the News 4 family. And so she has to pick it up and just like, it is great to be a part of it. I'm so excited to be here. Behind me, of course, there's smoldering bodies. It looks like Luke Skywalker's aunt and uncle have been burned by Imperial troopers. It's just like, that first time on can be really...
yeah, that's not a way to set up.
I don't know. You want to ease people in. So it's good that people knew who you were, so they already had some sort of...
very true.
That you were new and that, you were competent, and this was just sort of a little glitch.
I'd want to be on the next story as soon as possible. Like, get me back on there. So I can
how did you do that then? Did you need to take a little time? Did they say...
No, I just...
Get back out there, right?
Yep, went back out there and...
Next day, that
and then
night?
Soon I was reporting and producing and anchoring my own show. So it was...
And no one remembers it until you tell everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it was fine.
It's a good thing, yeah.
And I think it showed viewers that I could recover and
normal, yeah.
We're all just human.
Yeah.
So it's been 2 years since you left Fox 2. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's about right.
Do you miss it, and what are you doing now?
I miss broadcasting. Fox 2, we've got our Fox 2 family. I still see a lot of folks from over there. It's a good crew, exactly.
And you still hang out with a lot of people. We see the pictures on very glamorous life that you're living there on social media. I mean, I when I see the pictures, I always feel like, what are they doing at Rockefeller Center? I mean, you guys always seem to find these really...
We always kind of get these random invitations, and we always take people up on them.
Who is we? Do you have a whole squad of ladies? A typical squad?
We kind of have a squad going, I guess.
The Erika Erickson squad.
I think someone coined the term boner generals the other day.
Yeah, that's probably. I have an idea where that's from.
Maybe the head of
no
the
idea,
network.
Right? Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think that was Boner Army, I think is what he
Boner
calls
Army,
it.
You're the general of the Boner Army.
We're a little more
Generals
sophisticated
of the-
show. We
Yes.
just say these are people out enjoying their lives.
Yes. Sorry about that.
With a lot of mouth breathers online.
Yes.
See how terrible we are? I mean, people are.
No, but Mark asked what you've been doing.
Oh, so I'm in
Besides
public
Rockefeller
relations now, so I went to the dark side. That's what everyone says.
That is news now.
Although good public relations people are a real pleasure because
right?
It's nice to have somebody you're dealing with who's a fair broker, who you can trust, who knows what you need for your story, who can help you get it, who understands your deadlines.
Listen to this. I love it.
And I just had an experience with a PR person who did the exact opposite on the Christine Beatty story. But when you have a good PR person, it makes your life better, and hopefully it helps you tell the story because, especially with TV, there's a sign when you'd leave the newsroom that said, time is the enemy of all predators. And it's just, you need time. And in TV, especially with all the technical aspects, somebody who can help you get what you need in an efficient way is a godsend. So I don't consider it the dark side, although there are some trolls over there.
True. I mean, there's trolls anywhere. They're hiding in
some gorgons and
yes. So I hadn't really realized that I'd been kind of doing PR for myself, kind of my own name, my whole career, my broadcasting career, and a lot of what we did in broadcasting kind of translates, and journalism kind of translates over. There's a few differences, so I learned some things, but I was doing PR over at the Wayne County Sheriff's Office, and then now I do it over at Henry Ford Health. Awesome freaking team over there. The nicest people. Oh my gosh. I was walking around when I first started, and I'm like, all right, when are these people going to start being mean?
When are they going to flip?
Yeah.
They're so nice over there. I can't even tell you.
I think we have a lot of former Free Press colleagues working over at Henry Ford in the public information.
They're so nice.
Tammy Battaglia may still be there. Kim Shine was working there for quite a while. Yeah,
I think Tammy's over at Children's. We actually did a nice story together a few months ago. Yeah, and then I do some kind of freelance stuff on the side. Some people just say, "Hey, Erika, can you help me out with a press release or contact some local people for this and that?" And I love it. It's fun.
And you left Fox 2 for health reasons, right? I mean, the headaches.
Yeah, I had these crazy headaches and facial nerve pain that was going into my scalp and all this crazy stuff, and no one knew what was wrong for a while. But yeah, now that's kind of
probably made it worse, not knowing why is this happening.
I thought I was going nuts.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
I try to. I still have people contacting me. Hey, I had a woman email me the other day. Her 16-year-old has migraines and cervicogenic headaches, and I'm actually going to get her back with her today because some of the go-to treatments aren't working for her daughter. So
is that what it was? So you do have a diagnosis now as to what it was?
Yeah. Basically, they call it cervicogenic headaches, but it's basically the nerves in your neck and they wrap around your head, and it mimics migraines, but you get them kind of more regularly, and it's more of a dull pain. So I had headaches every day, and I was just popping ibuprofen every day, and then I ended up with super high blood pressure in the hospital and things like that.
And it's a high blood pressure business too. When you're doing TV, daily reporters are doing 2 and 3 stories a day. You're crisscrossing the metro area. You're in a truck. You're trying to connect with the satellite to feed your stuff. You don't know if people are going to talk to you. I have those same headaches, but it's usually just on Tuesdays.
You figured that was coming.
It's just a dull pain.
I mean,
a dull pain.
Slowest setup ever. Erika, do you now that you're feeling better, ever? It's a roadmap over there. It just flashes above his head. You know what I mean? It's a very easy
predictable.
To read. Yeah, its own little neon Google up above there. Do you want to get back into broadcasting ever, especially now that you're feeling better?
I definitely think it's kind of my first love, and it's something that I've kind of I don't know. I mean, if there's the right role and it's something that I can do, and I mean, I work from home 3 days a week right now, and
it sounds like no, but maybe. Yeah. Right?
Right. Yeah, the 3 days.
I've done radio and I've done television. They're two very different, as you guys know, they're two very different mediums. I love them both. I don't know if you knew that I was a DJ at WTCM in Traverse City.
Country?
Yes.
I believe you told me that you had done radio, but I assumed it was as part of like a morning show, as opposed to like spinning platters, the platters that matter. And here's
platters that matter. Oh no, that's what I did.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Damn. Did you wear boots?
Of course, we would never play
too?
the platters on this show.
Did I wear boots? Some days.
Really?
I have a new appreciation for country music.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, did you not like country music before you did it?
No, I did. It was okay.
No, you didn't. It's okay.
It was all right.
I'll admit it.
I don't get it.
Didn't you? You did.
I did not hate
Of course
it.
you did.
No. Why would I work there?
It was a job.
Because it was a job.
Yeah.
No, because I did it on the weekends.
But you learned to respect it and appreciate it.
I really respect it and
like
appreciate
old
it.
school, like
old school, all the
Patsy
new
Cline?
stuff.
oh, Patsy Cline, yeah.
Got to interview Loretta Lynn.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Did she have what was her husband's name? Dude or Bub or whatever his name was, who used to travel with her all the time? Did anybody see Coal Miner's Daughter? Was it just me?
It was just you, yeah.
When they were they were driving around promoting her records, and they said, Yeah, we're just touring around and eating salami to make us horny, and she didn't know what that meant, and all the DJs down south in like the 50s, like, she can never be on the radio again. We can't have that kind of godless talk on the radio. But you didn't have
that godless talk.
Yeah. No, you just right. You,
it's
Jesus,
so much
and
fun.
You, Jesus, and Jason Aldean. And no room in between. No, you got to leave room for Jesus. Always got to leave. Right, Shawn? No? Okay.
Sure. If that's your thing.
I don't know. It is Christmas. His birthday's coming up. What'd you get him, Shawn?
Don't
Don't say split pea soup.
I was going to say love every day. I don't know.
Love's good. You can't go wrong with love. With TV, one of the things that I always miss about it, there's deadline tension in print, too.
I do love the deadline.
There is that rush.
tension.
I think that everybody that works in a business like that loves deadlines.
How do did you come to dread the constantly trying to beat the clock every day, or was that sort of a rush for you that you needed that little adrenaline burst to feel alive?
Believe it or not, that was the biggest thing I had to, the biggest transition. I would, especially when I first switched over, I would start rushing to get things done, and I'm like, oh my God, I have 2 weeks to do this. What am I doing?
Yeah.
Why am I killing myself?
I could do more in 2 minutes than I have 2 weeks. That the way you time sort of slows down, where you're like, okay, I know I need 30 seconds to do this, and it's like, okay, I can do a lot in 30 seconds, but to the rest of the world, 30 seconds, like that's nothing. It's a blink of eye.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're on deadline and you're just looking for that one little sound bite, or you need to redo that one track, and 30 seconds is a lot of time.
I know. It's so different.
But you're living on that razor's edge where you have to use that time right. Otherwise, I missed slot once, which is a term for deadline in TV.
Once?
Well, let me just say, the first time I missed slot.
Is he misremembering?
It wasn't my fault.
Likely.
Yeah.
But I got a phone call from the assistant news director on the way back to the station. It's just like, what happened?
Yeah.
Mark, this
And
is
it wasn't
great.
my fault, but it was one of those things where, newspapers, Shawn and I are on deadline all the time, and Shawn's writing game stories and columns on deadline. There's a lot of tension there, but there's nothing like a TV deadline, because if you miss a newspaper deadline, you screw everybody down the line. You miss a TV deadline and there's dead air, or they have to move the show around.
You got to move the show around, and it just, you're not the lead, or I don't know if you were the lead that day, or
He's always the lead, right?
It's crazy though, because you're always late for everything,
and you're always the lead.
That's why I'm out of TV.
Because you're always late.
No, Erika, did you hear Erika?
I was a project reporter. We work. I'd fight with the lawyers for a month. I mean, deadlines. What do you mean? I got to do the promo 3 days in advance.
Right,
Erika's
yours
cutting
was
a
a lot
promo
different.
and going live.
I was doing 2 stories a day, a promo, and 2 SOT teases a day.
Yeah.
And
Mark, you heard Erika check him that he only missed, quote, slot once, right? It's nice to have a fact checker down here, Erika.
I will say that my TV news team missed slot several times. I'm not sure that more than one of them was my fault.
Your TV news team?
I do believe you when you say it wasn't your fault, though, because the computers, the internet.
Well, the blue screen of death, we've all seen that.
Oh,
when
yes.
everything in the truck goes blank and everything you've been editing is gone. But no, what happened the first time was I was with a photographer who was divorced, and he was...
I already know who you're talking about.
No, this was at Channel 4.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah. He was fighting with the airline because he'd made plans with his ex-wife to fly their kids to Florida, and something had gone wrong. So he's on press 9, then press 3 hell with at that time Northwest Airlines. They're fighting in the back of the truck. I'm looking at my watch. I'm like, it's getting close. And I'm like, hey. They're calling for us in the truck. They're like, are you guys ready? We don't see you on camera. We're like, yeah, I don't know. Are you set up for your live shot? I'm like, hey, are we set up for our live shot? He's like, no, go out there and put the camera up. And I'm like, well, first of all, that's a union violation. Second of all, if I was willing to violate, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Third of all, what do you mean turn the camera on? He's still fighting back there. I was like,
priorities.
We missed it, and I
threw him under the bus.
They floated us, which meant they put us elsewhere in the show. The producers had to reorder everything. They had promoted us as the top story, and it was really, and they really had built a nice newscast around this good story we had, and we screwed them royally. And the assistant news director, let me know it, and I basically took the heat from my colleague, who was later fired for looking at some inappropriate images on a computer a year or so later. But
Really?
And then the other time I was
What was he doing on
this
your
guy
computer?
he was a pretty
Right.
not
What
my
was he doing
computer.
at the computer?
What was he doing on your computer?
At that time, I didn't have a laptop. I just used a notebook. But now everybody's on the laptops. But he
whose
was
computer was this?
He was a good partner, but and it was just a random draw. We didn't work together all the time. But there was another time we were in Corktown outside Tiger Stadium about to set something up, and I was very nervous about him because he'd kind of left me hanging, and I took a lot of heat for it. We're getting ready for a live shot, and he disappeared. And I couldn't find. I'm like, where are you? Hey, what's going on? And this was before text message, or if you did text messages, like press A 3 times to get a C, press whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, he's going to do it to me. And he comes walking up from that Chinese restaurant that was at the corner of Michigan and Trumbull, eating like lo mein, and he's like, "Don't worry about." I'm like, "You got to get in the truck. You got to set the." It was fine, but I was like, when this guy disappeared, I thought, "Oh my God, he did it to me again."
Yeah, it is. That was the other thing when you work in TV. It's you and the photographer, like 8-9 hours a day.
Foxhole. Yeah.
Relying on each other.
Yeah, but it's a great collaborative experience, and the things you go through. Both good and bad. I had a photographer. We used to have differences of opinion on stuff, and every once in a while we'd have to have that talk. I'm like, it's like, I feel like I'm breaking up with a girlfriend here. Why do I have to keep explaining to this you, and you don't understand, and you think I'm not listening to your problems, and you get home to your wife, you're like, thank God I'm with someone I'm actually in a relationship with, because this work relationship is killing me. We need counseling.
Oh,
and those trucks get really small when you're yelling at each other.
They get really small, don't they?
Did you ever have any beefs?
Oh,
like
yeah.
that? Yeah.
That's why I thought he was going to bring up a couple. There's a certain couple photographers who would have like tantrums, and then like, all right, go there, go get it out, and then they'd come back in and be like, all right, are we? Or I would have a tantrum, because we didn't feel heard or listened to.
Oh yeah.
When you work that close with people for a long time, believe me, yeah.
Yeah, you have your moments.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Oh God,
But then you also realize as you get older that all these things that you thought were really important and really serious just aren't that important, aren't that serious. I think. I don't know.
I agree.
Radio's a lot different than TV, where I've had hosts that were late for stuff. Brandon had a host that he couldn't find 2 minutes before they were supposed to start a show at 105.1. Turned out he was out in his car crying.
Oh.
But it's like you just realize, okay, not the end of the world. The show's going to go on with or without these people.
Well, I didn't know.
You and I've never had a moment like that.
What are you talking about? Every week we have a moment like that.
No, where we're yelling at each other and that sort of thing.
Oh, I don't yell.
Yeah, most of the time, I agree. Most of the time, it's just not worth it.
Exactly.
No, it's not.
It's just not.
Yeah, it's just TV. It's just broadcasting.
But it is a rush, and particularly when you're doing stories.
The only annoying thing is when people are counting on you, right? Or you're counting on someone and they let you down, right? That's what's annoying about it. It's like,
and if they keep doing it over and over, then
everyone's
that needs
waiting
to be
for you.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Sorry, Emma. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. All I was going to say is you do miss that rush. You'd become a little bit of an adrenaline junkie, but it is fun when you do a story that you think really makes a difference in somebody's life and that they really appreciate it, and you give them a platform to be heard on their issue, and then all the other stuff, the mechanical stuff is all a part of it. But I hope you're back on the air soon, because you're a great storyteller, very talented. Haven't locked up on air since TC, so that's way behind you. But just a face and a voice that people look forward to and trust to tell their stories. So I know you're helping tell stories at the hospital, but I hope that
there are some great stories over there as well. But thank you, thanks for that. And I think one of the biggest things is I just try to be myself, just like you guys, and
that's why they got rid of me.
If you like me, cool.
Said,
if you don't,
somebody else. They said that's why they got rid of me. They said, "Could you be somebody else?" I said, "This is all you get." And they said, "Beat it."
You weren't wearing enough makeup.
Yeah, exactly.
Because somebody hogged it all. Somebody took all the spice.
Well, let's talk about the story you did last
Something
week.
else spicy.
Oh,
Yes.
How much of a rush did you get from this story?
Not much of a rush because every time I have to write about Kilpatrick or Beatty, Shawn won't believe this, but it's like drudgery because it's trying to deconstruct.
It's this bizarre relationship I feel like you have at this point.
It is. It's like, and I've described it before, and sometimes I feel the show's like that, where you're in one of those movies where you're chained to somebody who's completely the opposite of you, but wherever they go, you kind of get dragged along. Now the difference is,
did he just say that the show?
The difference is with
is
this.
that what he just said?
Oh, he did. Well,
With
he
this
slipped
show,
that in there, didn't he?
He did. I did.
This show, like those movies, the guys end
Very
up
roughly.
becoming friends at the end, and they learn something about each other, and they grow together, and it's a beautiful story.
We're trying to grow here. I
This
thought we
is
were
not like that. I am chained to these guys.
Kilpatrick and Beatty was almost the other way around because he wanted you to work for him at one point.
Yeah, and Chris was the one who made the job offer,
Yeah,
and
so you were friends to start.
one of the reasons why I didn't take the job is because I knew she would never listen to me, and she would go out and say...
Why did you know that?
Because she was very, even then when I didn't know there was a romantic relationship, was very territorial with Kilpatrick. You know, she was the gatekeeper. And the Free Press, Patty Montemori and David Zeman do not get enough credit for breaking the first story about the Kilpatrick Civic Fund, where the Kilpatrick Civic Fund took a $50,000 donation from a homeless shelter operator. And in return, Kilpatrick wrote a letter. He was a state rep at the time and had lots of friends at Wayne County, the McNamara administration specifically, Mike Duggan, deputy county executive, trying to get this multi-million-dollar contract for the homeless shelter operator, who years later would testify that he also bribed Kilpatrick and was demanded money and all this other stuff. At any rate, when that story came out, when Patty and David reported that story, there was a call to open the books for the Civic Fund to show people that this is a nonprofit that is helping people. Show us how you raise the rest of the money. Show us how you spend the rest of the money. They were not required to open the books, but it would have been one of those things where if you have nothing to hide, you would put it out there on display so that everybody could see for themselves and say, we're moving on. Because Gil Hill, who was running against Kilpatrick for mayor, had also taken a donation from this homeless shelter operator and written him a letter. So it wasn't that uncommon. Christine Beatty was the leader of the FU brigade, where it was, if you want this, come and get it. Come and take it from our cold, dead hands.
And
which
they
was
did, right? And they found there was
absolutely
grants paid
the
to it.
wrong response to a story like that. And in fact, it kept that story going throughout the campaign. And it was the one negative story that hurt Kilpatrick. It was the one time that Gil Hill actually got some traction on him. And the reason why this cut became an infection that became gangrenous was because of Christine Beatty's FU, come and get it attitude. Now, it wasn't for many years later that we found out exactly what was going on there, but that really hurt the then candidate, Kilpatrick, when he was running for mayor. And when you see people do the exact wrong thing, and when you can talk to them about it, and my relationship with Beatty and Kilpatrick back then was good enough that I could say, hey, this is hurting you. This is not what you should do. This is what you should do to, clear the air. And I'm happy to be the reporter that, it helps you clear the air, because it would be a great story for us. It was just, it was just a stonewall. So I was very leery of that. And I also knew Kilpatrick was so tight with his high school buddies that if he ever got different advice from them than he got from me, he'd go with them.
Yeah.
Which, okay, fine. They don't know the media, but whatever. I guess if you listen to them over your media person. But the thing that I couldn't live with was I knew they would then order me to go out there and tell everybody, I told these idiots not to do that, and I knew it was going to blow up like it has. But by the way, everybody, you're all wrong. They were right. I couldn't do that.
You also had people at the Free Press, encouraging you to stay, strongly encouraging you to stay, right?
Not that many people at the Free Press knew I'd been offered a job.
I remember when you came over and told me about it. That was like the first of 15 times.
Yeah, and you said, why don't you try podcasting instead?
I pleaded with you to stay at the Free Press. You know what I mean?
15 times. No, it's about right. I mean, I've heard at least 3.
Yeah.
No, but I was shocking when you first told me that. I'm like, what?
But
the investigative reporter you are, you're going to go do this? You know what I mean?
Well, at that time, I was just a City Hall reporter, but I mean,
No, you were doing great work. No, but the money was. I remember you. I don't remember what the figure was now, but I remember you told me about the money, and it was. That had to have been tantalizing for sure.
it probably was going to be close to.
I was
going to
say, when was this?
Something. This was 2001.
Yeah.
Okay.
But here's the other thing I knew: the city was about to face a budget crisis, and one of the first things I would have recommended as the press secretary was, we all need to take a voluntary 10% pay cut. And I knew they were never going to go for that. I knew that was never going to happen. In fact, when Kilpatrick became mayor, he announced that he was going to pay his two high school buddies, Christine Beatty and Derek Miller, $140,000 and $1. Because he said the city's maximum that he could pay them was $140,000, but they were so worth it, he was going to give them the extra $1. So he basically came in there saying, I'm going to treat them differently, and the rules are not going to apply to us. And it was a symbolic thing.
Set the groundwork.
It was one of those early things where you're like, oh my God, this is a tell.
That's a fair amount of money back. I mean, it's a decent amount of money now, but back then, 140 was
ridiculous.
A lot.
It's certainly enough to pay restitution, but
well, and that gets to the story,
yeah,
because you find out that Christine's been back in Michigan for
2.5 years.
Okay, 2.5 years.
More than that, really.
She claims little jobs here and there, but you find out that she got hired by a nonprofit.
Right. So I was told over the summer that Christine Beatty is back and she's working for Thaw, the Heat and Warmth Fund.
Everybody knows Thaw.
Yeah. And so, okay, I'll get to it. So then...
everybody knows what Thaw is.
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't know if they do, because we just hear today in the Free Press from a letter to the editor that they're really all about second chances.
That's what we call a tangent.
When all of us thought it was all about keeping people from freezing to death.
Wants to rant.
No, we're good. We're good. We'll get to that.
Well, you wanted the rant earlier, Shawn.
Linear. We'll get to that.
I did?
So you find out in the summer.
Yeah.
She's hired by Thaw.
So I'm like, all right, this is something I should probably tell people about at some point. And I got lots of stories to do. So I just move on. And then the mayor is moving back, and we find out he hasn't paid his restitution. He's working for a nonprofit. So my editor called me, because I try not to write about Kilpatrick, because I don't want to be seen as gratuitous. And if I do mention Kilpatrick, it's usually because we can learn something from his misdeeds. So if we write about Lee Chatfield, we can say, this is how Kilpatrick did it. And if Lee Chatfield's doing it, we might want to be worried about Lee Chatfield. So he says, write about that. I said, okay. And then what about Beatty? He said, write that next. Well, this is just before Thanksgiving.
Pretty smart story stacking.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, as
far as an editor goes.
Well, the whole idea is they're both coming back. They're both going to work for nonprofits,
yeah.
And neither one of them have paid restitution, and neither one of them will admit to all the terrible things they did when they were in charge. So Thanksgiving's coming up. I'm like, well, I don't really want to do this column about her before Thanksgiving. That's kind of not the way you want to help somebody celebrate the holidays. Not that she's ever invited me over. But then... I was sick for a week, and then I called and said, hey, can we talk to Chris about what's going on? I called Thaw. And I gave her some time to soak that in and to talk to her boss and let her know, hey, the reporters are calling. It's probably not the kind of publicity we're looking for. And I get a call back saying, yeah, she's probably not going to talk to you. And I said, well, listen, I have the public record. I don't need her to tell me what she's done. I've got all that. What I really need her to tell me is all the wonderful things she's done, what she's done since she left Detroit. How she's making a difference, how she's, this is her chance to tell us every amazing thing she can think of about herself. And the rest of it I'll ask her about, but it speaks for itself. And they stonewalled us. They held us at bay for a week. It wasn't until I told them my deadline was Wednesday. But if they needed more time, I would try and buy more time until Thursday morning. And it wasn't until late Thursday afternoon that we were told definitively she won't talk to us. Now, in the meantime, her PR person was out trying to peddle this story, and they found a buyer at Channel 4. And unfortunately, Christy McDonald, who is a very fine journalist, an outstanding human being, a great mother and a great wife, and we all know that she lost her husband, Jamie, and how tragic that was. She's just a fantastic person. And they basically approached her to do this story about Christine Beatty. And what they didn't tell her was why they approached her to do this story. And they said on their broadcast, which you may have seen last night on Channel 4, that Christine Beatty is speaking now because she wants to tell people her story. No, the reason Christine Beatty is speaking now is because she wanted to try and tell a somewhat fairy tale story because she knew the truth was coming out in the free press, and she wanted to find a way to try and take the edge off of that. And unfortunately, they took advantage of a very fine person, a very empathetic person who also lost a loved one, because Christine Beatty, one of the reasons she came back is because her mother was sick with cancer. So Channel 4 basically went hook, line, and sinker on this thing and put out this story where some of the many untruths or some of the many things that people should probably be troubled about include things like her biggest regret. And I think, Mark, we got a soundbite from the show.
What are your biggest regrets then?
Oh, biggest regret is that I was ever involved in an extramarital affair. It is the people that were hurt, not necessarily that. It's the outcome for other people. And, you know, I watch different things when people say, I wouldn't change one thing about my past because it made me who I am today. I'm not that evolved yet. I would change it.
Yeah, she did a lot of laughing of, questions, laughing them off.
She was nervous. She was uncomfortable, and that's understandable. But her biggest regret was the affair with Kilpatrick, and the people she hurt were her husband, her children, his wife, their children. You know, I don't care who you screw. Just don't screw the taxpayers. Her biggest regret should be the careers she ruined of people who work for the city, the police officers whose careers she ruined.
The lying under oath.
The lying under oath, yeah.
Breaking the law.
Having an affair. Having an affair. It's a great point, Erika. Having an affair is not illegal. That's not why you went to jail.
No, we would have just stoned you if it was illegal. You know, nobody cares about that. You know, this is the false narrative that all we did was we fell in love. That was our sin.
Yeah, but you know what? It works. Some people buy that shit. They buy it.
That's why some people are willing to tell the truth and then take whatever heat comes with it. But the people who she hurt were all the retirees in the city of Detroit who got crappy pension deals because they gave crooked contracts out. Good contractors who wouldn't bid on jobs anymore. There's one contract who lost out on a $140 million contract because he wouldn't give Bobby Ferguson a big chunk of the action. And the Fed said in the sentencing memorandum for Bobby Ferguson that Christine Beatty slowed that contract up to give Bobby more time to try and leverage this contractor. This thing was so perverse that the contractor met with Kilpatrick at the Manoogian Mansion where the mayor personally tried to lobby him to get Bobby in on the deal. And the contractor refused to do it, and they lost out on a $140 million contract.
Jesus.
These are the people who Kilpatrick, or who Beatty should feel sorry for. These are the people she should apologize to. Instead, she only cares about hers and his, because that's all they've ever cared about. The Castech Mafia giving each other jobs, helping each other out. That is outrageous. And now she's being paid, we assume, a decent salary. She said once she got a job again, she'd resume her restitution payments. She did not resume her restitution payments, and she was hired by a high school friend. It looks a little troubling to me.
At least, those people that were hurt by her, she's thinking of them, right?
Anybody that was hurt by actions from my actions, that is what is always with me.
You're always with her, the people that she hurt.
Maybe I spoke too soon. I guess that she's got, by my count, 700,000 people who are always with her, because those are the people who were hurt by the $8 million in taxpayer money that Kilpatrick and Beatty used to cover up their text messages. That's enough money to knock down hundreds of houses, to hire hundreds of police and firefighters, to clean up neighborhoods, to keep a recreation center open. That's what happened with what they did.
And that's just the money that we know of and can see. Sure. It's the ripple effects from this are we can't even imagine.
Well, and the good contractors who wouldn't bid on jobs, who probably would have bid a fair price, because they didn't want to get involved. They did not want to get caught up in the criminal enterprise that was the Kwame Kilpatrick administration. And she was at the right hand of the man. She was the gatekeeper. She was the guard dog at the palace. And she wants to just push this. Poor little Christine. You know what? Christine is a smart and talented person, but she is also delusional. She was vindictive. And quite frankly, she did not do a very good job running the city. which is one of the reasons it went into bankruptcy. So when you want to say you're sorry, don't just apologize to your family and the Kilpatrick family. Apologize to all of our families. And maybe spare a couple shekels for restitution.
Yeah, and because that's what a lot of your column was about, was, look, she's not answering questions, but more importantly, she owes, what, $78,000?
She owes $78,000 of the $100,000 she agreed to pay to resolve the prosecution from the text message scandal.
Does that mean she paid 22 or it got knocked down?
No, there were payments made, and she explained during this interview with Christy McDonald that the reason she made the payments is because part of her probation for 5 years was she had to make payments. So the minute that she didn't have to make them, she stopped making them. And then she said during the broadcast,
it's crazy how that works.
Yeah, so yeah, I want to do it, but if you don't make me, I won't. Well, wait a minute. So during the broadcast, she says, I didn't really understand how restitution worked. Well, don't forget, at the same time, she had a very demanding job running the city of Detroit as chief of staff. She was going to law school full time. I think they might have talked a little bit about restitution in law school, but if not, here's what she had to say about restitution.
Oh, she absolutely knows what she's doing.
You still have restitution owed to the city of Detroit? You're paying that? How does that work out?
So, and again, I don't want to give any wrong information. So part of my restitution, and I was on probation for the 5 years, was to pay restitution, which I did, during that entire time. Please rest assured, when I want to pay every dime of my restitution, and I don't want that hanging over my head.
God, I mean,
It's funny that it all comes back to her again. I don't want it hanging over my head. Me. It's always coming back to her.
There was a lot of talk about God, too, in the story, which we've seen that before from people in the story, using God, invoking God for certain reasons.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you believe in God and if you have faith, you know that everybody sins and that everybody has an opportunity to be redeemed. But in my faith, one of the things about redemption is there has to be regret.
Yeah.
There has to be remorse. Not just, I'm sorry that all the mistakes I made weren't really mistakes, but they upset all you people and now my life sucks. It's like, boy, I'll tell you what, if you go into confessional and you give that to the Padre, he's going to give you about 500 million Our Fathers and 2 billion Hail Marys because, this...
Yeah, God isn't an excuse. All I hear are excuses.
Yeah, nobody's saying that she's doesn't deserve to be loved by.
Of course not.
By anybody.
Well, and this is what pisses me off. So
just be an adult and take accountability. That's all.
Thank you. Yeah,
Erika, it's really hard for people to be adults nowadays.
I know, that's true.
So now this is what annoys me. In your paper today, there's an opinion piece, a letter to the editor written by Suntil Jenkins. I assume that's the friend that hired her to work for Thaw?
Yes, that's the CEO of Thaw. She and Chris were best friends in high school and good friends with Kwame Kilpatrick. And
they're really pissed off at you, or your column, not you, your column, about, kind of why won't you answer questions? This is what you owe in restitution. And their letter is all about, hey, people deserve second chances, which I don't think anybody's disagreeing with the fact that people can have second chances. The point is, show some remorse and pay your fucking restitution.
So
nice.
You know who wrote in the Free Press that they believe in second chances before Santil's letter was published?
Who?
A little guy named ML Elric who wrote, I believe in second chances, but I also believe in setting the record straight. Nobody is saying that Chris shouldn't be able to put her life together. Nobody's saying that Thaw shouldn't be able to hire her. What we are saying is when you don't admit what you did wrong, maybe you don't know what you did wrong, there's a chance you could do it again. And Thaw receives millions of dollars every year in taxpayer money and donations from people like me. And when I say like me, I mean me. And some of us are concerned.
Named ML Elric?
No, the rich guy named ML Elric.
That's right.
Who needs the tax write-off?
I love it when he goes third person.
The man who passed up $100,000 job, and walked away from a well-paying job.
Yeah, to that man. Huh?
But
that guy sounds dumb.
One of the things I asked Santil.
He sounds like he thinks a lot of himself.
Some people think he's.
Go ahead. Sorry, finish your thought.
He's at least average.
Ignore that.
One of the things I asked Santil when we spoke, and one of the things I asked the chairwoman of the board of Thaw is, are you concerned that there are people who may not support Thaw anymore because they are worried that Christine Beatty is going to get some of their money? And they both said no. And that's fair, but if I was running a nonprofit, I wouldn't want to give anybody a reason not to support us. I wouldn't want to give anybody a reason to question our judgment. Christine Beatty was hired, and Santil said, I don't know. I don't remember whether she was interviewed for the first job we gave her. I mean, this really sounds like a hookup. And
and what's her job there? Project manager?
Project manager.
I don't know what that means or what projects they do other than, giving her utility assistance.
I interviewed Santil before the story, the column ran, and we'll have a link to the column on our website, and quoted her on everything she said. And I guess there's some things she still wanted to say, so she put it in a letter to the editor. But
and one of the lines in the letter is that, and I'll quote it: "While Elric is looking back, she is looking forward. Christina has moved on, and people should be allowed to do so." Has she moved on? Because she hasn't paid the fucking restitution.
Well, so that's the other thing. You know who deserves second chances? People who've paid their debt.
Yeah.
And she hasn't paid her debt.
Yeah, I agree. We're talking about moving on and second chances and starting over. You haven't. What have you done?
Yeah.
To deserve that.
Yeah.
Let's have a show of good faith.
She has all those people in her heart.
Yeah.
She's always thinking of the people she hurt.
I mean, words are great, but
exactly. Yeah.
Anyone can say anything.
Well, you're
not showing us anything.
Yeah, we just saw 32 minutes of words on Channel 4, very few of which have the ring of truth. But Christine Beatty told our Fox 2 colleague, Charlie Langton, in 2016 when she did talk to the media. Why? Because she was promoting her radio show and a reality show she was a part of. So when she needs to talk to Detroiters to get something she wants, she will. Otherwise, we can all just screw off. The stone wall is still there. But she said in 2016 she wanted to resume her restitution payments as soon as she was back to work. Well, her resume shows that she was working not too long after that. And certainly we know she's been working for Thaw since March of 2021. So what was stopping her from making those restitutions?
I don't care if she was paying $10, $5 a month.
Anything.
If you're showing that you're trying, that's different.
Absolutely.
All the law requires is a good faith.
Instead of going, hey, my probation's up. See ya.
Yeah. Adios.
Come get the money now. That's a great point. Right, Shawn?
Right.
Oh, man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Good contribution.
Can I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek? Or we're turning into cool guys?
Well, if you've just returned to work, maybe you have some restitution you owe, maybe you don't. Maybe you just want to save for a vacation or for the future. Luke Nowacki is the one who can help you make the kind of good choices that some people we've been discussing just haven't made on their own.
That's right, because now that it's almost the new year, right? Is everybody feeling that, I'll get to it next year?
I will next year.
Well, next year's almost here.
Oh, damn it.
There you go. So, what you need to do is keep your head up, be prepared. If you like some help managing your assets, give Luke and Zach's entering the mix, a call at Pinnacle Wealth.
Z-Dog.
To help figure out, where your money is, how we're going to make that money grow. Give Pinnacle Wealth a call. Free consultation, 248-663-4748 for Luke Nowacki.
And Zach, because when you call Luke and Zach, they will make it all about you, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. member FINRA SIPC.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc.
My geek of the week is Draymond Green.
Oh, wow.
It's that simple. This is an outstanding basketball player.
Where did he go to college?
Very community-minded. What's that?
Huh? Who said something?
He went to the University of Michigan. Michigan State
University.
Which is the University of Michigan to many of us. Proud son of Saginaw, has donated back to his university, has been very generous, has been very, very conscientious about mentoring people and helping people move forward, but he's out of control.
When he gets on the court, he becomes kind of a loon, right? I mean, arms flailing, feet flailing.
He's punching teammates, he's punching other people. Even Tom Izzo's worried about him. Draymond, you seem like a great guy, and you've made some great contributions, but you got to get yourself under control, brother. You look like you're nuts. And if you are, we got to get you some help because you have a lot more to contribute, and it shouldn't be in fines to the NBA. So Draymond Green, and Shawn, I know you got my back on this one. You are a geek of the week.
Right, Shawn?
Whatever you say.
Split Pete!
Why are you smirking over there?
No, it's not a smirk. I just
That's a
wanted to
smirk.
explain to Erika.
Erica, was that a smirk?
These are two parts
some
of the
funny
show that Mike likes that maybe nobody else in this room does. So that's why I try not to. I try to. Yeah.
Yeah, and Shawn wants them to go by as quickly as possible, so he just starts making comments in the middle that drags them out. But we are not.
I don't like saying
somebody's
somebody's the geek of the week. I don't feel like I'm the judge and jury that way. It's just
Oh,
not. It's
get
just
over
not
it.
for me.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm
Just gonna throw
not.
some ahs
You
in.
judge me all the time.
No, I admire your calves. There's a difference.
See, I'm a piece of meat too, Erica.
Now I'm looking to see your calves.
I don't have shorts on, but
For fetishizing people, Shawn wins and you are our geek.
Exactly.
he's carrying a
You
lot
have
of weight
huge calves.
Exactly.
He's carrying a lot of weight around.
That's his joke, right? That it's
true.
Propping him up.
Those are some large calves.
Thank you.
So
Is that a good thing? I don't even
They're
know if
like
that's a
two
good thing.
veals. That's
So
how big
I hear women always look for large calves in men.
I mean, there's men who get calf implants.
Oh wow, it's back to fun
Yeah.
conversation again. This is awesome. I sat through that. What was that? 15 minutes.
Those are some calves.
Will you knock it off? You're fine.
I am now.
Oh my God.
I am.
Come on, Grandpa. What do you got, ML? Oh, I love the man. Love him to death.
So if you check back in our catalog, which you can find at mlsoulofdetroit.com, you'll find a special Christmas music
Yeah, don't
edition
listen to
of
the music
Soul
on
of
that one.
Detroit. Listen to everything
Don't listen.
except for Sonic Youth.
That is the worst.
Sonic
I
Youth
love
stops
Sonic
people
Youth.
dead in their tracks.
I love Sonic Youth. Worst song I've ever heard in my life. It's a
But the
Christmas
Aztec
song.
camera and the Alison Moyet, well worth it. But yeah, the Sonic Youth is a deal.
But today you have the best Christmas song.
So
Vince Guaraldi
So
Trio?
yes, so
Skinny?
Okay, second best.
We are sticking with our new wave theme.
Aw.
And Darlene
Not
Love.
actually something great.
Oh.
Shawn, you want to talk about Love? Darlene Love. How about that?
Love it. Yep.
Who did Christmas, Baby, Please Come True, says that the best version of her Christmas classic was performed by U2. So we will let you two judge them, even though Shawn doesn't like to judge people. But here is Bono, The Edge, Adam Clayton, and maybe somebody else with Christmas, Baby, Please Come True.
Come home.
Oh, damn it. Apologies to Larry Mullen Jr.
I know. It was driving me
Forgotten
nuts.
member of U2.
Great Christmas song, right, Shawn?
You
love it.
Right, Erica?
I like it.
Thank you.
It was fine. It was,
That's the kind of enthusiasm we're looking for.
That's pretty good. That you got a little bit out of him. You kind of sound like Larry David
you want
sometimes.
a company, but well, I don't have the hair either.
I think his heart grew 2 sizes.
He's the Christian Larry David, not the Jewish one.
So you're.
Although Larry hates people.
It's true. I love people.
And not all people. Anyway, we want to encourage you to send your suggestions for Room 7609 to mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. We also want to encourage you to send your money. And you can do that by hitting the donation buttons on our website. That's mlsoulofdetroit.com. There's a button for Venmo. There's a button for PayPal. Bryant sent a nice donation and said, the cover for this week's episode is priceless. Extra points to Mark for putting his head on the cow. Keep the laughs
It was a late
coming,
edition.
Jen. Yes, it was.
And I think you said it as a joke, and I still did it. I don't know why.
Well, it was one of those jokes where I was hoping you would do it, but I didn't want you to do any more work than you had to. And then I see
Since when?
you did it. Well, it's my resolution. I'm gonna try again next year.
Yeah.
But you did it, and I looked at it. I was so happy, and I'm glad Bryant appreciated it as well. And we also want to thank Paul for his donation, which came with this note that said, donation. So we appreciate that. So please support the show next year. We hope to launch a Patreon option where for a nominal amount, you will get this show and lots of bonuses, including we're going to give you an extra monthly episode, usually with some sort of theme like some of our advice to questions that people are asking. And next week's special episode, Erika's going to be with us again next week, sharing some of her take on the questions that people want answered.
There's some interesting ones.
Oh, these are great. These are fantastic. And if you like that kind of thing, that will be an exclusive for our Patreon subscribers. A lot of feedback today. I'm going to try and go through it quickly because Shawn's soup is getting cold. And it's all kind of similar. A lot of Christine Beatty stuff. NP writes, thanks for the excellent if disturbing story on Christine Beatty. For years, I have made an annual donation to the Thaw Fund. Sadly, I can no longer do that, knowing that Christine has access to donations that she might put in her pocket. Feel free to let Santil Jenkins know what a terrible mistake she is making, as I cannot be the only person who want nothing to do with any organization is involved with. Happy holidays, a lifelong Free Press reader. Well,
Thank you.
I will encourage people to continue to support Thaw, but this is the kind of thing that I think those of us who support Thaw were concerned would happen when people found out that Christine Beatty was on the payroll. But hey, what can I tell you? David says, and this was sent before, while Channel 4 was teasing their interview with Christine Beatty. It hasn't aired yet, but I really hope you tear apart Karen Drew's softball interview with Beatty. The promos are nauseating. Well, it was Christy McDonald, not Karen.
Right.
But I think we've given you our take on it. And the promos were, I think it's fair to say, a wee bit treacly. And while Shawn looks that up, we'll go to the next one. Michelle says, I hope you can consider answering some of this on Tuesday's podcast. Please share what you found about Thaw's top 5 executive salaries and assets versus donations. Well, most of the top 5 employees at Thaw make over $100,000. The nonprofit rules require nonprofits to disclose the top 5 highest paid people there. And we did not see Chris among those 5, so we assume that they're not among them.
I will say this, too. I was looking at the comments on your column, and they're overwhelmingly positive for you, which is unusual.
Unusual?
A lot of times you get attacked.
I really liked where you're going there for a minute.
Except this first one was really confusing because they said only this reporter can make Beatty look like a sympathetic figure.
Well,
I don't know if they even read the column.
We all have our gifts.
Yeah, that doesn't seem, that's a little.
I don't think they read the columns.
Yeah, I don't know. There are a lot of people think I was picking on it. There's a lot of people who think that this is old news. There's a lot of people who think that this is racist. You're entitled to your opinion. And that's why I don't read the opinions because, they're like assholes. Everybody's got
what we
some.
talked about at the top of the show, really.
Some are less fragrant than others.
Gross.
There's what? Oh, sorry.
Nothing.
Did I say that out loud?
No, you're fine.
There's a question here about did Thaw purposely omit her mother's salary or her salary? I don't think so. But Santil Jenkins, I did ask her what Chris Beatty's making, and she said she wouldn't tell me.
Well, I thought they were so open.
Yeah.
According to their letter to the editor.
Well, that's there's what people say and there's what people do, and they don't always line up, and that's where people like me are meanies. Michelle also says that her husband was a student at Wayne State, had a lot of parking tickets, and they almost ruined him. So she thinks she should pay the restitution. And let me get this one. This is the important one. Your haters are claiming you're using your column to set up running for office again. For the record, you've repeatedly said you will never run again.
You're not running. I'm not allowing it.
Right? Love the column. Love the show. Well, listen, the work I did for the Free Press actually hurt my chances of being elected after I was beaten. More than one person post on social media. That's what you get for telling on people. If I was trying to get elected or trying to further my political ambitions, I would not be doing stuff like this, because the truth is most people would prefer to pretend that this doesn't happen. They'd prefer to continue to be gaslit and to live in a cloud of delusion. And whether it makes me more popular or less popular doesn't really matter to me. I'm just going to tell the truth, and it seems to have worked out okay. And I'm going to trust my judgment, because it was my judgment that said, do not go to work for Christine Beatty or Kwame Kilpatrick. So that one alone is going to keep me pretty confident on the calls I make.
Pretty sure you're not the one with an agenda here.
No, but, you know,
safe to say,
when people don't have a good story to tell, they try and piss all over yours. So that's the way it goes. A couple other folks want to know some stuff that we're going to get to in the future. Lee Chatfield, question about Lee Chatfield. We're all waiting to see what Dana Nessel does with the Lee Chatfield case. We've been told there may be some action over the holidays. It's outrageous that it's taken this long, but we shall see. And when there is news on that, you can bet we'll talk about it right here on the Soul of Detroit. So please keep your letters coming. mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. Please let us know who you'd like us to invite on as a guest, because as you can tell,
more of Erika
we
back.
get some superstar guests in here. So please let us know.
And we get more of Erika next week.
Who'd like to join us. Yes, and Erika will be back next week for a special edition of ML Soul of Detroit. So please, everybody, have a great holiday, have a safe Christmas, and we will see you next week on the Soul of Detroit. Shawn, do you want to cue up Cyrus?
Take us out.
Cyrus.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
I wish that for only one day Dad couldn't tell a lie.
Was it good for you? I've had better.
Now,
Any money for restitution?
Absolutely. Could you spare some? Yes, I could. I can't lie.
all he can do is tell the truth.
Like the new dress?
Whatever takes the focus off your head.
The whole truth.
You know why I pulled you over?
Do you know who the fuck I am?
And nothing but the truth.
It was me.